Mental illness, the hidden crisis of meaning where ignoring something is deeply wrong with the way we live. We are wealthier, more connected, and more technologically advanced than any generation before us, and yet, mental illness is skyrocketing. Depression, anxiety, loneliness, these are no longer rare afflictions, but they are the default state of millions. But why? Why, in a world that promises endless comfort, entertainment, and opportunity, do so many people feel empty? Why does life feel unbearable even when, on paper, everything seems fine? We treat mental illness like a glitch in the system, as if it's an unfortunate side effect of modern life, something to be medicated and managed. But what if it's not a glitch? What if it's a signal? What if the rising tide of suffering isn't just a medical crisis, but a sign that something fundamental about the way we live is broken? Think about it. Never before have we been so disconnected from the things that once gave life meaning. Community has been replaced by isolation. Deep conversations have been replaced by shallow interactions. Purpose has been replaced by endless distractions. We are drowning in information but starving for wisdom. We are surrounded by people but lonelier than ever. And when life starts to feel meaningless, when the world seems cold and indifferent, the mind begins to turn against itself. Depression is not just sadness, it is the absence of meaning. Anxiety is not just fear, it is the unbearable weight of uncertainty without a guiding purpose. But mental illness, in many cases, is not simply a personal failure or a chemical imbalance, it is the natural response of a soul starving for something real.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
But here's the terrifying part. Instead of addressing the root of the problem, we build a world that makes it worse. Every aspect of modern life is designed to keep us distracted, entertained, and numbed anything to avoid confronting the void. Social media offers the illusion of connection without the depth of real relationships. Consumerism promises happiness in the form of new gadgets, new clothes, new experiences, but the feeling never lasts. Even self-improvement has been turned into an industry, selling us the idea that if we just work harder, hustle more, optimize every aspect of our lives, then maybe, just maybe, we'll finally feel okay. But we don't. We never do. Because the problem isn't external. It's not just about the wrong job, the wrong city, the wrong relationship. It's deeper than that. It's existential. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly alive? Not entertained, not distracted, but deeply, undeniably alive. When was the last time you felt a sense of purpose so strong that it drowned out the noise of the world? So many of us go through life waiting for things to get better, waiting for happiness to arrive, waiting for meaning to reveal itself. But what if the truth is that meaning isn't something we find? What if it's something we create? What if the reason we feel lost is because we've forgotten how to truly live? The void within, why modern life is designed to keep you numb if you've ever felt like something is missing. Like life is slipping through your fingers, despite having everything you're supposed to want, you're not alone. There is a silent crisis unfolding all around us, a crisis of meaning, a slow, creeping emptiness that no amount of success, money, or pleasure can seem to fill. And yet we rarely talk about it. Instead, we are told that if we feel anxious or depressed, the problem must be personal. Maybe it's our mindset. Maybe it's our brain chemistry. Maybe we just need to practice gratitude or work harder or try another therapist. But what if the problem is much bigger than that? What if the world we live in is actively making us sick? Modern life is engineered for efficiency, but not for fulfillment. And think about it. Everything is designed to be faster, easier, more convenient. Food is instant, entertainment is on demand, relationships are now just a swipe away. We have access to more information than any generation before us, and yet we feel more lost than ever. Why? Because all of this convenience comes at a cost. The things that bring true meaning to life, deep relationships, a sense of purpose, a connection to something greater than ourselves, cannot be downloaded, cannot be bought, that cannot be rushed. And yet, we are conditioned to believe that happiness is just one more achievement, one more purchase, one more experience away. So we chase, we consume, we distract ourselves. But no matter how much we have, we are left with the same underlying emptiness. Look at how we spend our days. We wake up, and the first thing we do is check our phones, flooding our brains with a barrage of information, comparison, and artificial stimulation before we've even had a chance to think for ourselves. We go to jobs that often feel meaningless, spending hours working on tasks that don't fulfill us, for companies that see us as nothing more than numbers on a spreadsheet. We come home exhausted, not from physical labor, but from the sheer weight of an existence that feels increasingly hollow. And in our exhaustion, we turn to distractions, scrolling endlessly, binge-watching shows, drowning out the silence with music, podcasts, put anything to avoid being alone with our own thoughts. Because silence is terrifying. Stillness forces us to confront the truth, that underneath the noise, underneath the constant stream of entertainment and consumption, we are deeply unfulfilled. And here's the worst part, this is not an accident. The system is designed to keep you in this state. A person who is numb, distracted, and endlessly chasing external validation is easy to control. They are easy to sell to, easy to manipulate, easy to keep running on the hamster wheel of consumption without ever stopping to ask, what am I actually doing with my life? The economy thrives on your dissatisfaction. If you were truly content, if you no longer felt the need to buy things you don't need, to chase status you don't care about, to seek approval from people who don't matter, the entire system would collapse. So instead, you are constantly fed new things to want, new fears to worry about, new ways to feel inadequate. You are told that you are not enough as you are, that you need to improve, to optimize, to become more productive, more attractive, more successful. But no matter how much you achieve, the goalposts keep moving. The feeling of inadequacy never goes away because it was never about reaching a destination. It was about keeping you running. But let's take a step back. Why does any of this matter? Why does meaning even matter? Can't we just accept that life is about survival and pleasure and enjoy what we can? Maybe. But if that were true, why do so many people who have everything still feel empty? Why do celebrities, billionaires, and influencers, people who have reached the pinnacle of success by society's standards, still spiral into depression, addiction, even suicide? If money, fame, and pleasure were enough, then why do they still suffer? The answer is simple, because we are not just creatures of survival. We are creatures of meaning, and meaning is not something that can be manufactured. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly connected to another person, to a purpose, to yourself? When was the last time you did something not because it was expected of you, not because it looked good on paper, but because it made you feel alive? If modern life is designed to keep us numb, then the most radical thing we can do is wake up. Not just go through the motions, not just exist, but truly wake up and start asking the questions we've been avoiding. What am I living for? What actually matters? And if I continue down this path, will I one day look back and realize I was never really alive at all? Breaking the illusion. Why happiness isn't what you think it is. We live under a massive illusion, one that shapes our decisions, our desires, and even our sense of self. The illusion is this, that happiness is something to be achieved, something to be earned through success, status, and external validation. From the moment we are old enough to understand the world, we are conditioned to believe that life is a journey towards some final destination where everything will finally make sense, where we will finally feel whole. We are told that if we just work hard enough, if we just make the right choices, we will eventually arrive at a point where the pain, the confusion, and the emptiness will disappear. But here's the truth, there is no destination. There is no final point of arrival where life becomes effortless and suffering ceases. And the more we chase this illusion, the more we suffer. Think about it. How many times have you thought, if I could just get that job, that relationship, that amount of money, then I'd finally be happy? And then you get it. And for a moment, there is a rush, a fleeting sense of satisfaction. But it never lasts. Almost immediately, the mind shifts. A new problem appears, a new desire takes shape, and suddenly, that thing that once seemed like the answer no longer feels like enough. This isn't a flaw in your thinking, this is the nature of the human condition. We are wired to want more, to seek, to strive. And while this has helped us survive as a species, it has also turned into a never-ending trap. Because if happiness is always something in the future, then by definition, it is never something we can have now. And this is where most people get stuck. They spend their entire lives in this cycle chasing something just out of reach, believing that the next achievement, the next milestone, will finally bring them peace. But peace cannot be found in the future. It can only be found in the present. And this is the truth that modern society does not want you to realize. Because once you stop chasing, once you stop believing the lie that happiness is something external, you become free. Free from the need to constantly prove yourself. Free from the endless comparison that social media fuels. Free from the exhausting pursuit of things that never truly satisfy. But if happiness isn't found in achievement, then where is it? The answer is uncomfortable because it requires us to look inward. It requires us to confront the emptiness, to sit with it, to stop running from it. Most people don't want to do this. They would rather distract themselves, numb themselves, do anything to avoid facing the reality that the life they have built is not bringing them the fulfillment they expected. But the irony is that true happiness, true peace, can only be found when you stop trying to escape yourself. When you stop treating life as a problem to be solved and start experiencing it for what it is. And this doesn't mean giving up on growth, on ambition, on dreams. It means shifting the reason why we pursue them. Instead of chasing success as a means to fill a void, what if we pursued mastery simply because we love the process? Instead of seeking relationships to complete us, what if we learn to be whole on our own so that love becomes something we share rather than something we need? Instead of waiting for happiness to come someday, what if we started living as if this moment, the one happening right now, was enough? Because the truth is, it is. It always has been. The only thing stopping us from seeing it is the illusion we've been trained to believe. So let me ask you something. If you stopped chasing happiness, If you stopped waiting for life to begin, what would you do differently? What would change if you accepted that this, right now, is all you ever truly have? Would you still spend your time the same way? Would you still worry about the same things? Or would you finally start living? The path to freedom, how to reclaim your mind in a world that wants to control it. What if everything you've been taught about success, happiness, and meaning was designed not to set you free, but to keep you obedient? What if the reason so many people feel lost, anxious, and depressed is not because they are broken, but because they are waking up to the truth that the system they were born into was never built for their fulfillment? From the moment we enter this world, we are given a script to follow: go to school, get good grades, find a stable job, buy a house, start a family, retire, and then finally enjoy life. But by the time most people reach the point where they were promised happiness, they realize something terrifying. They spent their entire lives chasing a future that never existed. They sacrificed their time, their energy, their passions for a version of success that was never truly theirs to begin with. And by the time they understand this, it's too late. But it doesn't have to be too late for you. The first step to reclaiming your mind is to recognize the forces that manipulate it. The world is full of invisible systems designed to keep you distracted, insecure, and dependent, because a person who is uncertain, who is constantly seeking external validation, that is easy to control. Social media thrives on your insecurity, feeding you endless comparisons that make you feel like you're never enough. The education system doesn't teach you how to think, only how to obey. The economy runs on your dissatisfaction, selling you happiness in the form of products, experiences, and lifestyles that never truly satisfy. And the worst part, most people live their entire lives without ever questioning any of it. But you are different. You are here reading this because part of you already knows the truth. You have felt the emptiness. You have sensed that something is wrong. And that is the first step awakening. Once you see the illusion for what it is, it begins to lose its power over you. You start to realize that you don't have to play this game. You don't have to chase things that don't matter. You don't have to live your life based on someone else's definition of success. You can choose something different. So what does that look like? How do you truly take back control of your mind? It starts by understanding that real freedom is not about escaping society, but about no longer being unconsciously controlled by it. It's about developing the ability to think for yourself, to question everything, to truly decide what matters to you. It's about reconnecting with what is real, your own values, your own passions, your own sense of purpose. And above all, it's about no longer waiting. No longer waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect version of yourself. Because the truth is, if you are always waiting, you will spend your entire life in a state of postponement, always looking ahead but never truly living. Think about this. If today was your last day, would you be satisfied with how you have lived? Would you look back and feel that you had truly experienced life, or would you realize that most of your time was spent worrying, waiting, and playing by rules you never agreed to? We spend so much of our lives preparing for a future that is never guaranteed. But what if you stopped? What if, instead of constantly striving for more, you learned to be fully present in what is? What if you stopped trying to prove yourself and simply lived in alignment with what you actually care about? This is not about abandoning ambition, but it's about redefining it. It's about realizing that success is not about money, followers, or external achievements. It's about how deeply and authentically you live. It's about the relationships you build, the experiences you embrace, the way you show up in the world. And more than anything, it's about having the courage to live on your own terms, even if it means stepping outside of what is considered normal. So, let me leave you with this. What would your life look like if you stopped living by default? If you stopped letting fear, expectation, and distraction dictate your choices? If you decided right now that your life is yours to create? Because the truth is, it always has been. The only question is whether you will choose to wake up and live it before it's too late.